Hello everybody, Rusted Ground here, and welcome back to Mass Effect 2. This is going to be another Codex video. We have some new entries that we should go through a little bit, and let's see what they are exactly. As you can see here, we have a new entry in the Aliens Non-Council Races.
Living beyond the Omega-4 mass relay in the Terminus systems, the mysterious Collectors species is glimpsed so rarely as to be taken for a myth by most in galactic society. In reality, Collectors are human-sized insectoid bipeds and can resemble massive winged beetles. They are a terrifying force in the galaxy, responsible for the murder of hundreds of thousands. Collectors generate permanent stasis fields around themselves, creating nightmarish red-shifted energy fields. In battle, they hold position whenever possible, relying on their aggressive biotics and nearly limitless power. Several types of bipedal collectors have been identified, including minions, defenders, zealots, assassins, and artillery operators. Acting together, collectors have imprisoned entire cities in stasis. While no definite forensic accounting exists to explain the fate of those imprisoned, leading speculation is that victims are harvested for scientific experimentation and neurobiological repurposing.
Okay, so the Collectors are basically the baddies in this, at the beginning of this game, at least. We've seen them for the first time on the first mission, when we met Tali. And we haven't encountered them yet in the game, but yeah.
Living beyond the Omega-4 mass relay in the Terminus systems.
Come on, let's go to the Vorcha.
The Volus are... Although they resemble a mammal-reptile cross, the Vorcha have no terrestrial analog. They are humanoid in form, but Vorcha have clusters of non-differentiated neoblast cells, like those of Earth's planarian worms. Damaged Vorcha cells mature into specialized structures to alleviate injury or stress. Transformations include thicker skin following injury, lung adaptation for barely breathable atmospheres, and stronger cardioskeletal muscle under high gravity. Skull capacity and brain size do not change, and Vorcha rarely make more than one somatic overhaul. Vorcha assault each other frequently, causing their young to gain strength, intelligence, and resilience. As a result, Vorcha see inflicting and receiving pain as normal communication. Few Vorcha study professions, in part because their average life expectancy is only 20 years. Because Vorcha can eat and breathe nearly anything, they can live almost anywhere. But racism prevents them from integrating into most societies that dismiss them as vermin. They have few employment options beyond Krogan mercenary bands.
Okay, so these are the alien non-council races that we have encountered so far. So again, the Collectors are the bad guys so far that we've seen. And the Vorcha seem to be... I'm a little bit conflicted whether they are altogether just the baddies, because so far we've only had encounters where they were hostile with us. But I don't know how, things will evolve. So, yeah. The Vorcha seem to be like minions, so to say. They look a lot like they resemble some gremlins or something like that. So, and they're very aggressive. And to me, they look like oh my god, what's the name? They remind me of a movie. Gremlins, I think it was actually called, the movie, where the little furry little animals would turn into dark gremlins if you spill water on them, if I remember correctly. It was like a horror type movie from the 1980s or something like that. Anyways, that's what they remind me of. So yeah. So, these are the aliens non-council races. Moving on to humanity and the Systems Alliance, let's see what entries we have here.
A political economic pact for collective colonial security. The Alliance is the central galactic institution of human society. The Alliance gained associate membership to the Citadel Council in 2165, and full membership in 2183, with Ambassador David Anderson representing humanity. Human political economic relationships vary between combative and lucrative. The Turians, who'd fought humans during the 2157 First Contact War, have become valuable trade partners, despite residual social hostility. Other relationships are even more complicated. The rapid rise of human political influence on the Council, achieving in decades what others waited or are still waiting centuries to acquire, has galvanized suspicion and resentment against humanity. That negativity is vastly outweighed by the respect and trust humanity earned by saving the Council during the 2183 attack on the Citadel, at the cost of Alliance cruisers Cairo, Cape Town, Emden, Jakarta, Madrid, Seoul, Shenyang, and Warsaw, and their 2,400 crew.
Okay, so it was a good thing on one hand. It was a good thing that we managed to save the Council, or we chose to save the Council in the previous game. So I'm happy to hear that. But I'm very curious now to have a little chat with Ambassador Anderson. Yeah, I'm very curious to see how things have evolved in these 2 years that we've been away, so to say. Okay, moving on to organizations.
Immediately following the First Contact War, an anonymous
we know about Cerberus. Let's see about the Elusive Man, though.
The reclusive tycoon calling himself the Elusive Man is a human nationalist focused on advancing human interests, whatever the cost to non-humans. The Citadel Council regards him as a fanatic, posing a serious threat to galactic security. A mysterious maverick, to say the least, the Elusive Man heads the Cerberus network. Dubbed the Elusive Empire by investigators, Cerberus is an allegedly untraceable syndicate of private intelligence agencies, biotics laboratories, engineering and scientific research teams, and lucrative front companies. Branded a terrorist and seditionist organization by authorities, Cerberus is the only human power base other than the Terra Firma Party, strong enough to embarrass, if not threaten, the Council and its human representatives.
Okay, again, the eyes. The eyes are weird on this guy. I'm very curious to find out more about the Elusive Man, who he is, and what's his main objective, so to say. But I'm sure things will evolve, and we will get there. Moving on to Mercenaries and Eclipse.
Brainchild of Asari Commando Jonas Sideris, Eclipse was incorporated as a proactive security company. Influenced by Asari and Solarian military doctrine, Eclipse specializes in sabotage, assassination, and personal and organizational security. Although Citadel governments regard the corporation with suspicion, it's embraced in the Skyllian Verge and Terminus systems. Early on, Sideris sought government contracts to establish market share against the better-established Blue Suns. Her agency scored a galactic PR coup by retaking several space stations captured by the Anhur People's Liberation Army and neutralizing its leaders, a victory Eclipse's marketing department never ceases trumpeting. Based on Omega Station, Eclipse controls nearly 20% of the asteroid's real estate. Its services range from mech repair to open warfare, although assassination is reserved for meeting wider, longer-term company goals. For instance, preemptive strikes against pirates, rather than murdering spouses for insurance money. Despite numerous reports, Eclipse denies sabotaging or kidnapping business rivals.
Of course they do. Who would admit that? Moving on to Mercenaries and the Blood Pack.
Originally a small Terminus Systems Vorcha gang, the Blood Pack was transformed into a legion by visionary Krogan battlemaster Gunnar Rang. Exiled for striking a female in anger, Rang obsessed over reclaiming his lost status. Leading the Vorcha Pack as a pirate crew, Rang cultivated recruits and infamy for a decade before incorporating his fighters as a security company across the Skyllian Verge. His notoriety ensured his initial public offering for investors made him rich beyond most Krogan's dreams. Rang returned triumphantly to his clan, rallying elders, Krogan hordes, and their firepower and biotic support toward professional violence in the Terminus systems. Banned from Citadel space, the Blood Pack bribes its way through spaceports into armed conflicts across the galaxy. Priding themselves for accepting otherwise untouchable contracts, the Blood Pack rejects bodyguarding and security in favor of cases requiring minimal oversight and maximal violence.
Okay, again, I wonder how much of these guys we're gonna see, and I was actually expecting to see the what's their name? The Blue Suns as well. Aren't they a mercenary group also? That was my understanding from what I've heard of them so far. But maybe we'll see an entry in the Codex in the future on them. Okay, let's move on to planets and locations now.
Freedom's Progress. Originally an asteroid rich in element 0, Omega was briefly mined by the Protheans, who eventually abandoned it due to its thick, impenetrable crust. Thousands of years later, nature did what even the Protheans could not. A collision with another asteroid broke Omega in half, exposing its trove of element 0 for easy mining. A rush ensued as corporations and private individuals tried to strike it rich on Omega, and thieves and outlaws followed in their wake. As space became tight, construction of processing facilities extended vertically from the asteroid, creating Omega's jellyfish-like silhouette. To prevent future collisions, the station is ringed with enormous mass effect field generators that redirect incoming debris. Today, Omega is a major hub of narcotics, weapons, and EZO trafficking, without even a pretense of civilian government or military control. Only mercenary groups have been able to instill a limited order. The most ruthless is an Asari syndicate run by the notorious Arya T'Loak.
Which we know, and we have met, and we'll have to see if she is on our side fully or not. But I can tell you right now that Arya T'Loak is... I find her quite interesting. Yeah, we'll have to talk to her again and see what she has to say, especially after all the events that have happened because of us. Okay. Last, I think, is it last? Yeah, last entry in the Codex for this time around is ships and vehicles.
With elaborate secrecy, Cerberus labored for...
Sorry, just let's go through this one first.
Space vehicle Normandy is a prototype starship created as a joint human and Turian venture. A frigate optimized for reconnaissance missions, the vessel uses state-of-the-art stealth technology. Most ships generate tremendous heat that is easily detectable against the absolute zero background of space. The Normandy, however, temporarily sinks this heat within its hull. Because of exterior hull refrigeration, the ship can travel undetected for hours, or drift passively for days of covert observation. That heat sinking carries the risk of cooking the crew alive if the stored heat is not eventually radiated. Also contributing to stealth is the Normandy's revolutionary Tantalus drive, a Mass Effect core double the standard size. The Tantalus generates mass concentrations that the Normandy falls into, allowing it to move without the use of heat-emitting thrusters.
Okay, so this was the old Normandy, right? That's why I wanted to listen a little bit to what the Codex has to say about the old Normandy. But let's move on to the new Normandy, the SR2.
With elaborate secrecy, Cerberus labored for years to build a new, superior Normandy. The vehicle's many alterations produced a craft nearly double the original size, requiring an even larger Tantalus drive core to compensate. The new Normandy features greater space in living quarters, research laboratory, observation deck, and cargo bay. Its shuttle can make landings the Normandy cannot attempt. In addition to tight beam communicators, Normandy's Quantum Entanglement Communicator, QEC, provides instantaneous contact with the Elusive Man. The Enhanced Defense Intelligence AI coordinates many of the ship's combat functions, assisting and even supplanting human piloting. Potential upgrades are numerous. The airframe could support additional armor and an axial mass accelerator. The thrusters could support recent advances in fuel technology beyond H2O2 chemical rockets. And the hull can mount double the standard number of kinetic barrier projectors, leaving space for stronger shields, easily sustainable via the new EZO drive core.
Nice. Everything said here in the Codex about the new Normandy sounds very nice, and I am very, very curious, and I cannot wait to see these upgrades and to see how everything works. Cool. And it's interesting, so it's double the size of the original Normandy. Well, yeah. Yeah, and it has all these features, the research laboratory, observation deck, cargo bay, yeah. Cool. Okay, let's see the UT-47 Kodiak drop shuttle.
The Systems Alliance UT-47 drop shuttle landing craft holds 12 soldiers in a cramped, uncomfortable cargo bay and 2 more in the cockpit. Officially named the Kodiak, the drop shuttle is better known to Alliance Marines as the Combat Cockroach due to its appearance and durability. The vehicle's robust environmental sealant technology exposes few vulnerable parts to the elements. First tested in the sulfuric acid clouds and extreme temperatures of Venus, the Kodiak can land in hard vacuum, high pressure, and temperatures from near absolute zero to over 900 degrees Celsius. A true contragravitic vehicle, the Kodiak's substantial Element Zero core allows flight by entirely countering the vehicle's mass. Its small thrusters are for directional control only. So if the mass effect field fails, the vehicle becomes a proverbial 3 million credit coffin. The unarmed shuttle forgoes weaponry space for active masking, electronic countermeasures, and a robust kinetic barrier system, ideal for dropping troops undetected.
I find it interesting that it holds 12 plus 2, because if I remember correctly, there's 12 squad members, I think, that we can get for our squad. 12 or 13. So if there's 14 in total, so 13 plus us, 14 in total, I find it interesting that it holds that many. Are we looking at a mission where we can go with everybody, or at multiple missions? I'll have to see, but it's interesting. So 12 soldiers crammed yeah, uncomfortably in it. Yeah, cool. Looking good. Okay, this is the last entry, the last new entry in the primary section of the Codex. Let's move on to the secondary section and see if we have anything here. Of course we do. Here we go. Cerberus Project Overlord. This is something that we recently acquired, and this is part of the DLC called Overlord. Planet Aite. 2 beautiful moons, 1 spectacular ring, 0 neighbors, says a popular advertisement for the Terminus Systems world. Aite is known for its sparsely settled population despite being a garden planet with a colony nearly a century old. Blessed with a mild climate, wildlife, no more dangerous than that on Earth, and soil and bacteria amendable to imported plants, Aite would appear to be an unexploited paradise. However, it is unpopular for 2 reasons. The first and most obvious is that its moon, Lite, is in an unstable orbit that will lead to a planetary impact and an extinction-level event within the next 2 centuries. As such, all investment in the planet is short-term, and the biggest business is selling off the local biota to the highest bidder. The second drawback is the level of violence on the planet. Like the rest of the Phoenix massing cluster, Aite was briefly considered part of Citadel space during its first wave of colonization. However, when the colony broke it off to become an independent planet in 2133, the Council let the doomed planet go with less than a day of debate. Free from any real governing body, Aite's history has since been filled with wars between small frontier town city-states over its resources. The result is a dangerous world where the average citizen is expected to be self-reliant to the point of fending for themselves against cutthroat corporations, strong-arm militia groups, and even Geth incursions. The fighting is so frequent that the name of the planet itself has changed more than 11 times. In a sign of blunt indifference, standard Citadel Galaxy maps refer to the world by the name given to it by human colonists in the latter half of the century. Okay, interesting. So, a beautiful world filled with ugly people. right? That's how I'm reading this. Okay, well, we'll have to see when we get there. Moving on to ships and vehicles. Okay, we have some more. Let's see here. The new entry... What? The new entry must be the A-61 Mantis gunship, maybe? The workhorse of mercenary bands throughout the galaxy, the Mantis is a two-man vectored thrust aircraft that excels in close air support roles. Highly modular in construction, the Mantis can be reconfigured as a low-altitude gunship, a fighter, a high-altitude bomber, or even a single-stage-to-orbit spaceplane that can engage enemy craft around the planet or space station. The only role that the Mantis cannot perform is that of a true deep space fighter, as it has no FTL drive. First rolled off the assembly lines in 2170, the Mantis remains in service in dozens of armies across the galaxy. It is most commonly used as air support in pitched ground battles, in a configuration that sports two pods for Inferno PKRs or precision kill rockets, and the chin-mounted M350 mass accelerator cannon. Its kinetic barriers, thermal decoy system, and electronic countermeasure suit make the Mantis far less vulnerable to surface-to-air attacks than previous generations of aircraft. Like most modern planes, the Mantis uses an Element 0 core to ease the load of the engines with a mass effect field, allowing it to take off vertically or hover in place using minimum fuel. This also gives it far greater range and speed than the helicopters and jump jet aircraft that once filled its niche. A Mantis can take off from Baton Rouge, reach Moscow in a few hours, fly a ground attack mission, and return home before having to refuel. Okay, so the Mantis is what we've seen in the previous mission where we had to save Archangel, to recruit Archangel. So that was the Mantis gunship. Interesting ship. I'd like to fly one just to see how it is. Moving on to technology, and the technology here we have computers haptic adaptive interface. Advances in computing have done away with traditional input devices like keyboards. Instead, modern input peripherals are usually holographically displayed in front of the user at a height and angle for ergonomic ease. Machines that use this interface deter a user through a microframe chip in the user's glove that keys in to the computer. Once a user is accepted, motion accelerometers in the user's gloves match his hand's location with that of a proportionate but smaller mirror set of controls inside the computer itself. As the user presses against the holographic field, force feedback in the glove kicks in, giving a slight resistance. A person can then feel his way through using a touch screen that isn't actually there. A simple toggle switch on the back of the hands allows the gloves to be turned off when not in use. Haptic interfaces have become so common that some individuals undergo cybernetic enhancement surgery to have the accelerometers implanted in their fingertips. Shit. Okay, going bearskin is the sign of a committed computer user who no longer has to fuss with putting on gloves or cleaning them with alcohol wipes to get rid of the clammy hand smell. Okay, I think I think what they say here might just be real research. Cool. It sounds very cool. I'm not really sure I agree with the going bearskin version of it, but yeah, very cool. Moving on to security mechs. These are again the mechs that we encountered on Omega when we, and also the ones that attacked us in the first, when we started on the Cerberus base that we were in. The death of thousands of security and military personnel in the Battle of the Citadel was a loss felt throughout the galaxy. A large number of qualified personnel transferred to the Citadel to replace those that died. Short-handed security companies filled out their numbers with large-scale use of unmanned security robots. Commonly referred to as mechs, the security robots are typically grouped into light and heavy varieties. Light mechs come in a variety of sizes but are easily distinguished by opposable digits that help them in their versatile security roles. Heavy mechs lack digits and are simply weapons platforms intended to keep the peace in high-threat areas. The quadrupedal dog mech, yeah, we've seen that as well, okay, we saw that as well, has a face composed of contraband detection sensors, and it too is armed in case a perpetrator resists arrest. A typical security mech has an extremely limited virtual intelligence. Its duty is straightforward and narrow, usually to guard an area, run a friend or foe program to halt unauthorized access, and fire a set of pre-recorded voice commands to warn troublemakers away from the area. Light security mechs are equipped with irritant sprays and electroshockers to force compliance, and heavy mechs may be outfitted with flashbang stunners for similar purposes. When facing an opponent armed with a firearm, any mech will immediately resort to lethal anti-personnel weapons to neutralize the threat. If the situation turns violent rapidly enough, it may not even use its warnings. Security mechs are frowned upon for actual military duty. Though tough enough to survive most firefights, their VI simply does not have the programming to plan an ambush, rescue a hostage, treat a wound, or any of countless other objectives that a soldier must be able to perform on the fly. Cool. Well, we've seen what they're capable of, and I'm sure we'll see more of them. Now, let's move on to the veteran Zaid's secrets. This is going to be interesting. Planet Zoria. So, as you know, when we first encountered Zaid, he told us that he still has a bounty that he hasn't finished. So, a mission that he hasn't finished. And his deal with the Elusive Man was that he would join our cause, but we would have to go and finish the mission with him or for him at one point. So that mission is on planet Zoria. Bring firearms and antihistamines is what veteran guides say about this lush garden world. First colonized in 2160, Zoria's temperate and tropical zones are overrun with plants and fungi of all kinds. As a result, the air in most habitable areas is choked with pollen and spores that range from benign to deadly. The scattered colonies across the planet have resorted to clear-cutting and slash-and-burn farming to create habitable zones, and the more rural areas, where the spores are thickest, are populated only by Vorcha. Oh, great. Lax ecological laws allow mining and manufacturing industries to flourish and pollute cheaply, as planet's carrying capacity far outstrips the current size of its colonies. Zaria is also home to the Blue Suns, a mercenary company who dominate the colony's security forces. Okay, so they're not... But yeah, they're mercenaries, because they're guns for hire. The Suns enjoy nearly unlimited influence with local politicians and judges, ensuring no other private military contractors can compete with them economically. Nearly every colony has a Suns recruiting station, if not a training camp, though this has hardly made the planet any safer. Piracy, drugs and vice and political violence are commonplace. Okay, this planet sounds wonderful. I cannot wait to get there. So guys and gals, these are all the entries that we have so far in the Codex. I hope you enjoyed this little read-through, and if you did, be sure to give a like. If you didn't, give a dislike. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.